Okay, two solutions to the problem. The first one that I'm going to show you I don't recommend because it's not going to be visually done. You have to code it for each page. But the second solution, I'm going to use widget, um, and by using a widget, um, I'm going to be able to use the tuxedo's widget logic to display a different slider in a different page. So the way I program the sliders into my themes is um, I put the code directly into the header PHP file, and I don't just place the code in there directly. I have two nested if statements. So, and because my themes come with two slider plugins, and in the future I might have more, I have two sets of coding for the sliders. So this is the first one. I'm basically checking the two sliders that I use. It's the responsive slider and then slider WD. For your solution, we're going to use slider WD, but that's for a little bit later. So the code that I put is I have an if statement. It checks if the plugin is active. In this case, the responsive slider plugin. If it's active, then it checks whether it's the front page. And in WordPress, there's a difference between a front page and a home page. A front page is the first page that shows up when you load up the site. A home page is your blog's archives page. So in this case, this is the front page, and this is your home page, your blog's archive page. Alright, so as you can see, if I go to any other page, the slider does not show up. And in this particular theme, the reason I'm showing you this theme, it's because although the theme has a fixed width of 1100 pixels, the actual slider is full width, which is one of your requirements. Now, if I'm going to be doing this by code, then one by one I have to put another nested if statement and check what page I'm in. So if the page ID is whatever, then load up the next slider, and you're gonna do this as many pages as you want, as you have. So as you add pages, you need to come back into this particular file and put the coding in, all the nested if statements, which is not very professional, not ideal. You want to work in a visual way as much as possible. But at least this is one solution. The second solution is to use widgets, and in this case I'm not using widgets. I'm using the same technique, but you're gonna see that the idea why I have to use widgets. So if I use widgets, instead of coding a different slider for each page, I can use the widget, the tuxedo widget's logic. So if you go to any widget and you go to theme display options, I can now choose for any particular widget what pages it's going to be displayed on. So I can have one slider inserted into a widget, text widget, and say selected pages, and then put the post ID here, then load up the next slider and change the what page it's going to be displayed. So you can configure now each widget, sorry, each slider, a different slider to be displayed on a different page. Alright, so the problem now is that if I use and for sliders, the widget area that I'll be using, it's going to be one of the page top widget areas. There are 4 of them. In this case, in the Dallas theme, I'm using the Uber menu navigation for the second menu, but you have to put the slider in instead, and then of course configure which page that particular slider will be showing. The problem is that if I use a widget area, which in this case is going to be right above the content over here, the widget area is going to be um, confined within the page's fixed length, which is 1100 pixels. So that solves one of the problems, to have different sliders per page, but it creates a new problem that we cannot have a full width slider like this one. Of all the sliders that I played with and have, there's only one slider if I use will do the job perfectly for me. So that slider, it's called Slider WD. There's a free version of it. I have the developer version, which was $40, which is not bad. The free version, it's got some limitations. So for $40 it was worth spending it. So let's have a look at it, at this particular slider once again. And this slider has pretty much everything. It has 3D animations, which by the way, the 3D animations, they don't render very well in Internet Explorer. It's not the slider's fault, it's Internet Explorer does not render 3D CSS very well. It's getting better compared to a year ago, but still Internet Explorer is a couple of years behind as far as CSS 3D animations go. But it renders pretty good in Chrome, Firefox, and Opera. I have no Apple products, so I can't say about Safari, but my guess is that pretty much Safari and Chrome go hand in hand. So my guess would be that it should be okay in Safari as well. But if you don't want to use any of the 3D animations that I have over here, you can always use fade, slide, any of the other I think 36 animations that come with a commercial version of the plugin. You can use that. So once I use before that, this particular slider, it's also has ability of putting layers, whether it's text, other images, um, um, or videos in it. So it's pretty good. Um, in this case, the image shows up, and you can put URLs on the background image or on every object that you bring into the picture and animate. Alright, so once I set up my slider WD with a page top widget area, all I have to do to make it full width is configure it such in the plugin. So if I go here, it has the ability of creating multiple sliders. So I only have one. I can go ahead and create more. This is the code that you would have to put in a text widget, and for for each slider you're gonna have a different shortcode, obviously. So let me jump into the actual slider. I can add the different sliders over here. I can add layers, and I've got only one layer in this case. With the layer, you can animate when it's gonna come in and when it's gonna go out. You can play with the timing and whatever animation, whatever effect you're gonna be using. And if you don't use a text animation, you can have text layer. You can have an image layer or even a social button layer. But that is not your problem right now. The problem is how to make this full width. So if you go to the settings of this slider, there are a number of things that you can configure. In most cases, the default values are good enough. The one that I had to configure was the width and the height. But the second option is whether it's going to be full width or not. So right now it's saying no, but if I change it to yes, doesn't matter what the dimensions of your slider is, those are going to be ignored, and automatically this particular slider is going to be full width once I load it. There you go. Now obviously when you're gonna use full width sliders, my original images were 1100 by 300 pixels. You are going to lose some quality in the picture, so make sure that your images that you're going to use for a full width slider are 1920 pixels. The height you can you can decide what the height it's going to be, and that's the way I would tackle the problem where to have a theme which is not 100% fluid, to have a full width slider, and to have a different slider per page. Any questions? Email me back. Bye.